Amon-Ra St. joins us today and reminding you to try Old Spice Swagger deodorants and body washes. Old Spice Swagger gives you confidence to perform 24/7 with long-lasting freshness and is available at a store near you. And we welcome Amon-Ra St. Thank you so much for being here, coming off your bye week. Did you do anything fun or at least relaxing over the bye week?
Yeah, I went back home, just time away from football, time to relax. Didn't do much, hung out with some friends and family, and just trying to relax. Now I'm back to work and ready to finish the season off strong.
Yes, and it's been a great season so far, 6-2, first place, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I wanted to ask you, first of all, you play fantasy football? Into fantasy football at all?
I don't play, no.
All right. Well, we'll change that. We'll have to change that sometime. But I'll tell you, you are averaging the 5th most fantasy points per game among wide receivers, if that means anything for you. How do you feel about that? Being number 5, you cool with that?
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I know I get a bunch of my DMs on Instagram are all fantasy for the most part. People always, when I see people out here in Detroit, I'm at the grocery store getting food at a restaurant. They always, a lot of them tell me, I got you on my fantasy team, man. Keep balling. I appreciate it. And so I understand how big fantasy is. I don't even play it, but I do understand, the magnitude of it. But man, I'm out here just trying to help my team win games and do my part.
Yeah, you're certainly doing your part, and you've been great. And the 4 receivers who are scoring more points than you per game are Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Stephon Diggs. So that's really good company. And how do you view yourself right now among the fraternity of NFL wide receivers? Where do you put yourself?
I think I'm one of the best. Obviously I'm biased because that's just me. But I think if you ask any receiver in this league who they think is the best, and they're always going to say themselves. So that's just me, man. Everyone has their opinions, but to me, man, I think I'd be a fool not to say me.
Well, what makes you different than everyone else? What's your sort of special trait?
I mean, I just feel like I can do everything. I just feel like that's a loaded question that you're asking me here, but I feel like for me personally, I feel like I'm the best. That's just plain and simple for me.
Yeah, sorry, I did not mean to ask you a loaded question there. I want to talk about sort of how you've evolved though, right? Because it sort of started with the last 6 games of your rookie season. You're averaging over 90 yards per game. You caught 5 touchdowns in those 6 games, and you've just been incredible since then. But throughout your 3 seasons now, or 2.5 seasons in the NFL, how have you evolved as a receiver?
I think for me, just understanding, defenses, becoming more comfortable within the offense. Having a coordinator that you've been playing with almost now for I would say 2 years. He kind of came along towards the second half of my rookie year, and Ben Johnson's been here ever since. And so being more comfortable in the offense, understanding defenses, just all that combined, and then just keep each year in the offseason, stacking up work weeks, working on my craft, whether that's on the field, whether that's in the weight room, whether that's on the track, whatever it is. Just continuing to put work in and continuing to get better. That's the biggest thing for me, is being able to be consistent while still getting better.
And you're playing out wide more, right? As you've progressed in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what's that? Talk to me. Give me kind of like an X's and O's. What's different for you when you're lining up in the slot compared to out wide? How do your responsibilities change? Like, what's different in those situations?
Yeah, I would say out wide it's a little different just because sometimes you can be by yourself, sometimes you're not, and sometimes you have a slot inside of you. But outside is it's more of a one-on-one situation. If they're not, they don't have a safety over the top. When being in the slot, sometimes you're able to get more. Being able to find zones, find pockets. Obviously, people still play man on you in the slot, but sometimes in the slot, it's easier to get doubled just because there's more people in the middle. When you're out wide, it's kind of harder to double someone. And if you do, it's super obvious. A quarterback can tell right away just because you probably have a safety over the top. So it's kind of easier to disguise a double while you're in the slot. But when you're out wide, it's kind of, you can't really disguise you doubling me if I'm out wide. So it's kind of easier to tell for a quarterback when he's back there. So I would say those are the biggest things, really.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So obviously, you can't talk about the Lions without talking about your head coach, Dan Campbell. He's one of the most colorful, one of the most fun people to just watch and observe. And of course, the press conferences are always a good time. Of course, in his introductory press conference, he said his team was going to be kneecap biters. If you knock them down, they're going to get back up and bite your kneecap on the way back up. I'm curious, how often does he mention kneecap biting? Has that ever come up since the introductory press conference?
Believe it or not, it hasn't. He's never mentioned, kneecap biting since that press conference. But he has a bunch of different analogies and things that he uses, when he speaks to us. But he does a great job of getting his message across to us. He knows how to motivate us, how to get us fired up. He's an awesome coach. He takes care of us. He's a player's coach. He's been in this league for quite a while, so he knows that the aches and pains that we go through throughout a whole year, whether that's at the beginning of the year, during camp, towards the end of the year, coming off a bye week, whatever it is, he understands. So he does a great job of kind of commanding this whole team.
Can you give us any of the other analogies that he uses?
I mean, there's so many things that he says. I mean, every week is something else. But he does, like I said, he does a great job of getting his message across to us.
I mean, everybody's got like a favorite Dan Campbell quote. I think it doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass. Do you remember when he said that? And do you remember what your reaction was? Because that one is so funny to me.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what game that was, but I remember him saying that. I just don't remember what game. But like I said, he has so many different, analogies and ways to get his message across that, like I said, every week it's something new. That was, his phrase for that week. But man, he does, like I said, he does a great job he knows how to get to his players, how to, touch us in ways that I feel like some people might not be able to. So I think that's his true, one of his talents is being able to lead, and he's a great leader.
If one of his players came up to him and said, "Coach, like I love you, but I'm a little uncomfortable with profanity. Can you stop?" What do you think? How do you think that would go over?
That'd be funny. I mean, I wouldn't know what he would do, what he would say to that player. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to imagine him not using, not being able to use profanity when he's speaking, because he's such a fired up guy, especially when the time is right. But man, I feel like everyone, cusses these days, so it's kind of normal.
So I want to ask you, like, we're fantasy analysts and we're always trying to figure out narratives for when a guy might have a better game, right? So some of the things I want to tell you some of the things we look at, and you can tell me if they're legit or not, or if you think they're just something that football outsiders might take into account. So do you think you'd have a better game if you were playing your hometown team, which is interesting, of course, for you as you're going to Los Angeles. But do players get up to play in their hometown?
I wouldn't say, I mean, get up. I don't know. I just feel like it's always nice to be back home. It's like, you don't always get that opportunity, especially, Chargers being in the AFC. I probably won't be able to see them much. And just, being able to play in LA, I'm not in the, we're not in the Rams division. So you don't get those games often. But having a lot of family there, obviously you want to perform great. But at the end of the day, you can't really control, what happens out there. Obviously, each game is different. How the game is trending. If you're down, you're probably going to start throwing the ball more. If you're up, probably running the ball more. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't know if you guys are aware, but that go into, stats and things that happen throughout a game. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to go back home. Definitely, I want to have a good game, especially in front of my friends and family. That's my goal. But like I said, I can't control everything.
Sure. No, I guess I'm less about you, more if you've noticed this from being in the NFL. But guys, maybe we call it the squeaky wheel, but a player comes out and complains about not getting the ball. Do you expect them to have a big week? Maybe if you're playing your former team, that's one we look at a lot, a revenge game, as we call it. Do you see players, finding motivation in those types of situations?
Definitely. I definitely think so. Especially, I would say more, playing your former team than playing at home or like where you're from, just because, you can get, I don't know if maybe it was some players had a bad taste as they left that team, or I think if you just play your old team in general, you always want to have a big game and you're extra motivated for that game. So I would have to agree with that one that, players would definitely find extra motivation playing against their old team. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to have a better game, like I said, but they're definitely going to have extra motivation going into that game. And then, players that complain about not getting the ball, I mean, I haven't complained, yet like that. So I don't know really how that works. But I know some players complain, and I'm not really sure how those numbers. I mean, that's more for you guys to decipher. But yeah, definitely the former team.
Yeah, no, we do see it sometimes. I can think back to AJ Brown after I think week 2. Seemed a little upset. Devontae Smith got more targets in that game, and ever since then, he just finished a streak, I think, of 6 straight games with 130 more yards. So that type of stuff, it does happen. I think sometimes it helps us figure out who's about to have a big game. I'm going to let you go in a little bit, but one of the things we do as fantasy analysts, of course, is rankings. So I was wondering if you could help us out with some random rankings, hopefully some fun rankings for you. Would you rank your top 5 wide receivers of all time?
Of all time, okay. Shoot, I've been asked this before, and I don't want to look like a clown, not saying the same receivers, but I'm not going to do anyone that's in the league right now. So I'll do former receivers. Calvin Johnson, Jerry Rice.
Moss.
Randy Moss, exactly. See, I'm already forgetting.
We can do top 3. Top 3 is good.
Top 3 is perfect. Thank you, make it. I appreciate it.
Another top 3. Now, you can't have Thanksgiving without the Detroit Lions, and you can't have it without side dishes. So give me your top 3 Thanksgiving side dishes.
I'm gonna go mac and cheese, good stuffing. Do you consider ham a side dish?
No, I prefer it to turkey, so that's a main course for me.
Right, that's a main course. I'm gonna go some yams.
Okay. All right. And you it's nice to have the early game on Thanksgiving, right? Because you get to have a normal dinner. It's good stuff. Your top 3 favorite TV shows of all time.
I'm not a big TV guy. I'm gonna be honest. I don't watch any TV unless it's sports. So the shows are not for me.
Movies?
But not even movies. I mean, I would say top movies. I would go Avatar, the first one, Avengers, the first one, and then one more movie. I'm just gonna go Blindside because I was young when I watched it, and I enjoyed that movie a lot.
And we'll wrap it up here for you. Thank you so much for coming on. Typically in the fantasy season, right around Thanksgiving is when we stop making trades. That's our trade deadline. So if you could tell anyone who's watching right now why they should trade for you, get you on their team right now, why should they do that?
Why you should trade for me? Shoot, I'm gonna go out there and give it my all, man. I know, each game is different, so I can't promise you guys anything. But what I will promise you is I'm gonna give it my heart, everything I got, every game. That's just the type of player I am, man. No plays off, and hopefully I can, continue what I've been doing this year, because if so, man, it's gonna be a big year for us as a team, and hopefully we can go deep in the playoffs.
And tell us more about your partnership with Old Spice before you go.
Yeah. I'm honored to be partnered with Old Spice. I've been, as a kid, watching Old Spice commercials, Terry Crews, the stuff that they do, I always thought was amazing. So being able to be partnered with them, their swagger, their Old Spice swagger scent smells amazing. I use it, almost every day, especially in the shower. Their body wash, it gives me a 24/7 lasting, freshness coming out the shower. The deodorant, and one thing that I notice is when someone has something, whether that's food or whatever, stuck in their teeth, or maybe you got something in your hair, on your face. People nowadays, they'll tell you, they'll bring you to the side, not in front of everyone, be like, you got something in your teeth, you probably want to get it out, whatever. But if someone's not smelling good, that's usually tough to tell someone. It's kind of embarrassing. I don't, unless they're my close friends, I'm not telling you smell bad. I'm gonna just probably step away, keep my distance, whatever. But with Old Spice, with Old Spice swagger, I'm feeling confident wherever I'm at, even if I'm sweating a little in the room, if it's hot, I know I'm smelling good. I'm not worried about that. So that's something, it gives me that confidence, that knowing that, I'm straight.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. It was really great to speak to you. Good luck the rest of the way. And I know you're going to have a very delicious Thanksgiving. I like your choices there. So thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you.
All right, that's Amon-Ra St. Brown joining us here on Fantasy Football Today.